If you're looking for a delicious weekend recipe, you found it. Pork belly chops is one of my favorite snacks. It's honestly one of the only things that hold me back from becoming a vegetarian. So today we're making pork belly sandwich. It's going to be a honey soy version, which is incredible. And as you all know so far, of course we're going to make our own bread from scratch. It's a relatively easy recipe, but it's not quick, because making a good homemade bread takes time. Now let's go through the ingredients. Here I have 6 pieces of beautiful pork belly, and for the marinade we're going to need some pepper, some salt, some garlic powder, Worcestershire sauce, 2 tablespoons of honey, 2 tablespoons of soya sauce, and of course olive oil. For the bread we're going to need 350 grams of bread flour, 7 grams of dry yeast, 10 grams of salt, and 200 grams of water. Now let's begin with the pork chops. Into the bowl I'm going to add my soya sauce, roughly 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce, around 3 tablespoons of olive oil, the honey in there, some garlic powder, some salt, and some pepper. Now give it a really nice rub to get all the marinade everywhere. Now leave it in there to rest until we're ready with the bread. Now let's start with our bread. Things are really easy here. Put the flour into a big bowl along with your water. Take a spoon or a fork and start mixing. Once you can't mix anymore with your fork, take the best tool that you have in your kitchen, your hand. You don't want to perfectly mix it, you just want all the flour to incorporate. Now that your dough looks something like that, leave it into the bowl and add the salt on top. Let it rest for around 30 minutes and come back. Now take your dry yeast and add around 30 grams of water in there. Give it a nice mix and let it aside. Now after 30 minutes, add your yeast into the bowl and give it a nice good mix. Your dough will be sticky, but don't worry. Now leave it to rest for another 30 minutes. Now after another 30 minutes, what you want to do is the stretch and fold technique. Just pinch one side, stretch it out, and then fold. Do this 3 to 4 times, stretch as much as you can, and fold. Now let it rest for around 2 hours. Now after about 2 hours, my dough has doubled in size. Lightly dust your bench and transfer your dough onto there. Cut this into 2 equal pieces and degass everything. Now fold it like a pocket and shape a round ball. Do the same thing for the other and cover them with your proofing ball and let them rest for around 15 minutes. After about 15 minutes, uncover them, take one dough ball, lightly dust your bench and degass it one more time. Then take it from the ends and just stretch it a little bit. Now that you have a rectangular form, take the top part and fold it in there. Press and do the same. Push it lightly to make it a little bit longer, and this is the shape you want for your bread. If you see any extra bubbles, just poke them out. Now take an oven tray with a parchment paper on top and give it a nice oil rub. Place your bread on there, put another oven tray on top and let them proof for around 30 minutes. After about 30 minutes your dough looks something like that. You know that it's ready to bake if you poke a hole in the dough and comes slowly back. Now what you want to do is to take a water sprayer and slightly spray your bread. This will prevent the dough from drying out and also create a nice crispy exterior. Now score the exterior like that and into a preheated oven at 450F or 230C for around 30 minutes. And now while the bread is baking, I have some time to prepare my sauce. Because the pork belly with all the fats and everything is really heavy food, I want to make a light sauce to pair with it perfectly. Into a bowl, add 150 grams of yogurt, 1 teaspoon olive oil, some pepper, some salt, and a little bit lime juice. Give it a good mix and this is the sauce. It's so easy and so delicious. It will pair perfectly with the pork belly. And after about 30 minutes of baking, look at that beauty. Check this out. This is perfectly golden. Halfway through baking, I spread them one more time with the water. Now let them aside and let's go cook the pork belly. Now you want to preheat a stainless steel pan into medium-low heat. Because you've added the honey in the pork chops, you don't want a high heat because it will burn them instantly. If you're using a non-stick pan, then set it at medium heat. And like I said earlier, only about 1 minute after, look at the color. And that's because of the honey. Now this is the color your pork belly should have. Now that everything is done, I'm going to prepare my toppings for the sandwich. Here I'm using a tomato and a cucumber. I want to use these fresh ingredients so I can balance off the pork belly. Take your knife, cut the edge of the cucumber, and you want to cut it really thin, like paper thin. That's what you want. Now take your tomato, take the stem off, cut in half. Easy, right? Now take one of your bread, cut it in half, cut the end off. Now take your sauce and put a good amount in both of the sides. Take your tomatoes, the cucumbers, add a little bit of salt on top, some pieces of the pork belly, and top it off with the other piece of the pan. And there you have it. This is the perfect sandwich right there, man. Look at that. Look how beautiful it is. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and see you in the next one. Cheers.